Hi, I'm Jamie Ananda McConaughey. Welcome to the Tantric Life podcast. Yeah, so today I'm really excited to have Steffo Shambo as my guest on the podcast. Steffo is a tantric men's coach, and he works with men to help them reconnect with their divine masculine power using principles and practices from Tantra, helping them to resolve problems with love and relationships and broken marriages, and many other things. And Steffo, you've been my Tantra teacher when I did your coaching program, the Tantric Man Experience, a few years ago. And that was absolutely amazing, that coaching program. I mean, I have to say it was really life-changing, absolutely fantastic. And Steffo continues to be a mentor for me, guiding, inspiring, motivating, and I'm so grateful for that. So, Steffo, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you, brother Jamie. I appreciate that nice intro. It's good to be here.
So, I think I would just kick off by saying, asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what do you do, what's your experience, your training, and so on.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just have an enormous passion to help other men be happy in their love lives. And that means in life in general. Because we see so many people today, they're successful and they have everything together on the outside, but their love life is suffering. And so it's tied to a happy life, basically. So that is my true passion and purpose in life. And I wake up every day and I feel so grateful to be able to do this work because I was suffering so much in my life. When I was growing up with a bipolar, alcoholic mother, I never got the feminine love, deprived of, femininity. And I had to go a hard, lonely path to heal and transform and to uh, overcome my struggles with the feminine in the relationship and dating, and that was really difficult, and I didn't have the support I needed. I didn't have a path or a plan on how to do things. So today, after spending my entire life working on this, and 15 years of daily practices, I started out practicing for 5-6 hours a day, tantric practices and yoga. Like, I quit my job, I left my home country, and I only went into the jungles of India and Thailand just to do that every single day for years and years. And eventually I felt I overcome these things. I healed myself. I transformed. I got, the golden key, so to speak, like so many men want in their life. Like, how are we successful with women and sex and abundance and confidence, masculinity, right? And I found it in myself. And I started to give that to my friends around me, holding small, gatherings in my community. And everyone was like, wow, this is amazing. I love it. You have to teach this. So I started teaching that and I just loved it. And my heart is on fire for this. So I'm just here on service. I want to pass this forward. And now on a mission to spread this more, more into the mainstream. So this, sexual mastery for men, I want to make it more, okay to talk about. That is something that also quote unquote normal guys in the mainstream can do. It doesn't have to be guys like you, Jamie, who are like super into Tantra and spirituality, right? But I want this to be accessible for all men because you don't have to be spiritual to do this. You don't have to believe in Shiva to do this. You can come from any background, creed, or beliefs. It doesn't matter. We have a global community and it works for all. And that's where I want to take this.
So, one thing I'd really like to ask you about, Steffo, because Tantra is obviously a huge topic, and many people have different ways of defining, like, what is Tantra. So, I'm really curious to know, what does Tantra mean for you?
What it means to me is a technology to expand your consciousness for human beings to access their full dimension, which is not just the flesh, but it's also their energy and their spiritual dimension. right? So it is a scientific knowledge, you could say, of how to develop yourself in the deepest realm of inner work, of self development. You know, the tantrics talked about shadow work and trauma, but no one understands that. Everyone just think it's about sex, but actually, you know, they were way before Sigmund Freud and psychotherapy, and they talked about all. They mapped it out in detail, in such, you know, minute details. It's unbelievable. You know, the the core, the fundamental, the classic view was that all these personal transformations are not focus points. They're just bonuses along the way to get to the ultimate goal, which is to realize your true self. You know, that is in Western language enlightenment, right? They call it samadhi. But that is basically to realize who you are beyond your ego. That is the classical definition of Tantra. Uh, but to get there, it's a whole journey, right? And so the tantrics say maybe it takes you one lifetime if you're lucky, but probably it takes you several lifetimes, right? So you might do a lot of work in one lifetime. You get close to enlightenment, and but then you don't get there. You're reborn. It's you bring that with your karmic imprint, you could say. So they didn't call it trauma. They didn't call it shadow. They didn't use those names. They call it karmic imprints, meaning that we're born with a specific snapshot in time. And so you have a specific, unique fingerprint of when you were born, your energetic fingerprints. And also, that's one thing, but also you take upon all your karma from previous lifetimes included in that fingerprints. And that is your ego, your personality. That it will be your challenges in this lifetime, and your tribulations and your successes will be determined by those imprints. And Tantra said we can actually work with them. So you see how this becomes personal development in modern language, and that's exactly what I have utilized because I love that aspect of Tantra. The emotions, the shadows, the personal development. And that's so awesome.
Yeah, and it's really inspiring to get tools like the tools you're teaching to feel that we can live that full potential. It's we're brought up in such a screwed up way, aren't we? With this modern society and the conditioning and the upbringing, and we have such crazy challenges that we have to deal with as men. What do you think about that? How are men struggling in this modern day and age?
Mm. Number one struggle for men right now is confusion and an identity crisis. That's what I'm seeing. So, men, especially younger men, maybe one generation below us, they feel like they're growing up in a very volatile situation where men are like, okay, what is okay? You know, like women say they want to have a man that is, you know, healthy, mature, and that will approach them and will make them feel like a woman. But then at the same time, they also say, you know, please respect my boundaries. Don't come off too strong, and don't offend women. Right. So there's confusing messages of almost like uh, blaming our natural impulse to kind of peacock that's coming from the animal world and wanting to actually pursue women, which is inherent in the masculine DNA. That is being questioned in society right now. So I think as a society as a whole, we're going through this kind of transitioning of finding who we are. You know, we went through Me Too and the hijack of Me Too and then cancel culture and women have gone through all this empowerment movement and they're further along, I feel. And men still need to find their foothold in the world and what it is to be a man. in Tantra, there's actually archetypes we can follow that are universal, that is timeless, that has been there for millennia, and that saints and sages and tantric masters have mapped out and written about in numerous books. That is the same across all different religions. We can find traces of the same kind of teaching and pointings to. That is an archetype, the divine masculine, whatever you want to call it. We don't have to make ideas up what it is. It's something that's inherent in us. And that is very liberating. But there's no voices guiding men towards that today. Because Tantra is not just about sex. Sex is great, but it's also about, like, how can we be men, real men, in the modern day without listening to, people trying to spread their propaganda of what it means to be a man that dominates the world and women around them and other men.
Yeah. It makes me think of sometimes think like today, like if you look back at sort of in the past, some of those more like tribal cultures, they often had like strong masculine role models in their communities who were honorable, had integrity, had discipline, had compassion. Like you see maybe in the indigenous Indian tribes, there would be that sort of warrior culture, and the young boys or the young men growing up would have a role model a healthy masculine role model that they could sort of try to emulate, and they would have like rituals of like rites of passage to become a man, and I feel like today there's nothing like that for the most part for men growing up today, and in a way we have to rely a lot on our parents, and so many families have like fractured families, like divorces. I remember, my father, my parents divorced when I was very young, and I didn't really have much of my father figure around to cultivate those healthy masculine values. So it's really lacking in modern culture. And as you say, it's great that we have there is available archetypes, as you said, but a lot of people don't know about that or don't know how to access that. Um, what could you suggest, Steffo, for people who've, like myself, who've really lacked that strong masculine role model? How could we ourselves like turn to some other kind of role model or archetype or something to kind of get those values and that guidance?
Very good question. And we need to get that guidance, even if we are adult men and we feel like, oh, it's too late. It's not. Oh, I'm too old. You're not. It's always the right time to get the fathering, the reparenting you never got from your dad. And we have to get it at some point in our life. If we were lacking it, we have to get it at some point in our life. Otherwise, we feel broken. We feel unintegrated. We will lash out at our women. We will, be volatile, right? So it's so important to do that. What you talk about is that in these tribes, you said, they always had a rites of passage that was signifying going from adolescent to manhood, from boyhood to manhood. They were usually around, 17, 16, 17 years old. And they were always put on a test by the tribal elders. And that has been lost, as you said. But we can do it today. If we find a group, we find a spiritual community, we find a men's group that are hosting these kind of events. We find different workshops that deals with rites of passage or do that kind of work, going from boyhood to manhood. It is an initiation. And that is what I now also include in my program that you took. You don't took it for a long you took it long time ago, so it's very different these days, right? So we include that in the way of having all these men coming together and reflecting our blind spots. Most guys in the community on the group calls, they will be like, wow, what I shared and got reflected on here today, I don't even talk about to my best friends in my life. And that is online. So this rites of passage and initiation can even happen online. And that's the great thing about the digital world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can definitely testify to that experience. I've had some of those meetings with you and the men's group, and what a powerful meeting that is, even though it's online. And like for myself, as I've said, I grew up without that masculine confidence in me, and just being part of a men's group, sharing like that in such like deep sharing with other men, it's so powerful.
You can trust other men again. You can trust your own masculinity, and you're not ashamed of your own strength and power to fully step into that. That's what women really want. But a lot of us men are afraid to do that. That's what we're saying inside, right? And I don't have access to that part of my wild man inside because it has been blunted. But having access to that doesn't mean this manosphere alpha, you know, macho kind of thing. It means that we have we just have more power that we can utilize.
That leads me on, Steffo, to your course that you have. And is it called the Masculine Power Course? Is that the name of it?
Yeah, activate your masculine power. That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about this course and how it can
Yeah,
help people?
it's this is my introductory course. So it's an on-demand 5-day course where we can basically go through what we talked about today. First of all, of what it means to be a man today. And secondly, the second day, we just look at, toxic patterns and, unhealthy belief system that we have inside of ourselves. Because anytime we want a transformation, we have to first remove what is holding us back and blocking us to have that transformation, right? So we're looking at that and, looking at releasing certain patterns. Then we want to find that fire, that wild man inside of us, right? Because that is a very beautiful aspects of ourselves that has been shunned today. And that is not domination. It's not the energy of domination. It's an energy of power. That's what we call it. Activate your masculine power. And this is located in the navel. We call it Manipura chakra. In martial arts, they call it the hara, I think. So this is your power center. This is, we call it fire, the fire element, right? So when we can activate this, cultivate more of this energy of fire inside of us, we activate this part and can access more of this wild man inside. And of course, on the fourth day, we will work with sexual energy and how to harness that, how to utilize that. Lastly, we work with the spiritual dimension of masculinity. What does it really mean? And it all comes down to freedom and consciousness, right? So we have to look at freedom and consciousness. How are you accessing that on a day to day basis? Can you access it within yourself right now as you listen to this podcast? Do you sense that timeless dimension inside of you? And if you can't, probably you cannot guide and lead a woman in bed to meet God as well, right? So that's something that is crucial when it comes to sacred union, tantric lovemaking. They want to be led to that place, meaning that you have access to that. You don't get lost in pleasure. So that is my 5-day introductory course, and I want to make an offer. I changed the offer a little bit to also include a free community. I just launched a community. It's new. So I will offer the free community to anyone who signs up. Now, I don't know when you're going to release this episode, let's say for the whole month, and 20% discount with a code Jamie. So if you go to the link, I think you will put the link in the description or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Links will
Tan-
be all over the place, all the descriptions on all platforms. Yeah.
Cool. So with this link, you get 20% discount and the free community access to the community, the Tantric Academy community. The coupon code will be Jamie in capital letters.
Wow, that's great. That is so exciting, and the community is also a great little add on there. And we've recently been participating, and it's an excellent, really excellent community. It's so vibrant already. Lots of amazing men all sharing and supporting each other. So what a fantastic offer. Thanks, Steph. I appreciate you giving that for the listeners with the discount for this course as well. And perhaps you could share a little bit with us. How does Tantra help men to become that healthy masculine? What are some of the principles or practices that men can use from Tantra that to help us become that healthy masculine?
Well, a big piece of this will be the sexual work, working on our sexuality, because I would say 99% of men today, if you haven't done